Hey, good morning, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the Foundations Q&A course check-in for April 23rd. This 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 little icon here on the screen is the most current form of the Owl Wisdom Project executive summary, I would say. We're using the power of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT-4, the koala writer, the guided intentions of a bunch of good people. And we're going to be working on assembling our best collection of knowledge for the next generation, storing them in a personalized university library, building internal courses that we think are appropriate for the good of our people and our friends and loved ones, and working together to do that with accountability in true story circles. These are the these are the things off the top of my head on the right hand side that I share basically wherever I go. And I'm going to be using the Chinese Confucian Junzi model of self-improvement as part of my public self-improvement effort in a 10-week course we have coming up starting in a couple weeks that's focused on true story circles, storytelling, science, creativity, public collaborative community accountability. And in that program, each person is going to be picking their own preferred method of self-development, telling us about it, committing to it, reporting on the work that they do each week to advance towards their goals and visions, and just telling stories about things that matter to them and that have made a difference in that process so that the people may thrive. And we're going to learn about each other. We're going to learn about these different models of self-development. We're going to support each other with deep listening and commitment to not judge, to not advise, not recommend. This is a personal path towards excellence, but which is shared around this community fire. My sense is that the spirit of my father, whose totem animal is the owl that you see there, is watching what I do with interest and support. And that is the totem animal that for me represents someone else who is seeing everything, hearing everything day and night, but without judgment, but with compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude as we journey together for a time. So thanks to my dad there. I'm a little congested this morning. We have at 5 hours on the soccer field yesterday with the kids, and the grass was wet, and like a dummy I had very light field shoes on, so my feet were wet for 5 hours. That's not a good plan. And it turns out that staying up till 3 working on artificial intelligence is not a way to to get better with your congestion. So having said that, let's go ahead and let me, since there's only 4 of us here, if you don't mind, if you wouldn't mind coming on camera for a minute, just let me know where you are, how you're doing, what's going on. Give me a 15 or 20-second check-in so that we can start putting some names to faces. Hamad, how are you doing this morning?
Well, it's almost feeling here, but I'm doing really well. Really enjoying it.
Very good.
As soon as I get onto the threat of like maybe the real money within the game, I find that I learn that way. I've been investing very little on every trade compared to my entire portfolio, but the results have been quite positive. Clearly, there are points of improvement. I mean, I've been sending you questions,
Yep.
Ken. But yeah, really happy with the progress. Really, really happy with the progress. I've throughout my entire career in trading, I've never traded this one, and I've only been on the course for like 3 weeks. So that's up to you.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that. Change can happen. Now, I just knocked my my drawing pen down somewhere. I don't know. We'll try and find it. Maybe I got a spare. Sorry about that. Greg, how are you doing this morning? What's going on?
Doing well. Powering through all of your material. I'm always learning more, and I realize that it's very often when I have a question, I'm like, "Oh yeah, he covered that," and then I end up rewatching a video that you have. So just rolling along.
Yeah, well, all of us are working on that process of hear it one time, remember it forever, perfectly, and then perfectly apply it without error. Why don't we just do that? You know what I mean? That's I got a soccer academy coming up here in a few hours later today, and you know the ball is the best teacher, and those kids get about 2,000 touches on the ball every hour. They're just it looks like a circus or a barrel of monkeys. MP, what's up?
Oh, this is going great, Ken. It's it's a lot to cover. I'm kind of overwhelmed actually, to be honest with you. But I'm making a dent, which is good thing. I'm progressing video by video, which is good. Like Hamad has said, I've seen a lot of stuff, but I've never seen anything of this nature. So it is it is quite something. But I do know that two or three guys I know very well have have done really good with it last couple of years. So that really pumps me up a lot. And I resonate with a lot of things that you say on a sort of at a concept level. So now I need to connect it on a tactics level.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good thing, because a lot of the time problem is reversed, right? A lot of people understand tactics, but they don't somehow gel at a concept level, and that's where it all falls apart. So at least I have a head start. At least that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that idea in the military experience is we think of that as the relationship between strategy, operations, and tactics. That if you think about that as some kind of huge mountain, we got our strategists way out here that can look deeply and see what that end state needs to be.
Right.
And then if they have the ability to communicate that vision from their far seeing, their communication has got to come down so that the guys on the ground where the rubber meets the road at the tactics level can do the things. And so our guys down here are going that way with little truckloads of goodness and trying to get it done. And so they can hear and maybe see the vision that this guy's describing, but they're so busy down in here that you have to trust that what they're saying is working. And what they do in each little iteration has to somehow not just be its own thing and survive and do well, but it's got to be connected to what else we're doing. Otherwise, we never make progress on the top level things. We're just it's like vectorless energy. If I got all these little agents in an organization and this guy's going that way and this guy's going this way and that guy's pulling that way, it may look like we're making progress, but if you average that out, we're not going anywhere because their results are offsetting each other. Now in trading, it's important that we do the right things inside each transaction. But if we can find ways to link that together, then we can not only do well in each little transaction, but we might learn something that makes us better on the next iteration and the next iteration. So you're getting a learning value as one of the results of your trade studies, as well as hopefully making money, intentionally making money. So that's how you start building synergy and improvement. And what brings that together is the inside each little trade is that if we think about plan, prepare, execute, assess, we're going to plan, prepare, and execute for sure. And then if we're still alive, well, first of all, we're going to be alive because we're using proper money management techniques to make sure that each trade does not have the potential to end us.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So if we survive that individual trade, we can now assess. And what we're going to do is we're going to assess the planning phase. How well did we plan? So if we go plan, prepare, execute, assess, and then we look at the model of sustain, improve, and action. My assessment program says, all right, what did I do good in planning? Let me sustain that. Maybe I did something actively very good. And then maybe I did not do something, and it was good that I did not do that. Like it did not go too far down the rat hole. I did not try to overplan. So sometimes the absence of action is a good thing. Avoidance is a good thing. Stay out of a swamp. Don't fall into a hole. Don't test the depth of the water with both feet. You know what I mean? So my planning, there's going to be some things I sustain. There's got to be some things that I need to improve on. Hey, do this a little better. Don't do so much of that. Stop doing that other. And then there's so many things that maybe I notice each day that I pick one or two of those things for action. What are the things I can do that I can commit to? Now I go to prepare. How well did I prepare? Again, sustain, improve, and some actionable items. When I say actionable items, it's like a little guidance to yourself. Hey, do this with those resources to this standard in that amount of time, have that expected outcome. It's a smart goal. Be specific, have something that is measurable, that is action-oriented, that is relevant to the overall vision of what you're trying to achieve, and then has a time dimension on it. So that is like a proposal for action. So I'm just making a list of those things over here. Now I'm done with preparation. Let me take a look at execution. Sustain, improve, and then possible actions. Now this is where it gets meta. I'm going to assess my assessment. Did I follow through and do it in all of those areas, and I followed the procedure, and my SMART goals were good, and I put it in my standard learning journal format, and I went through the process well, and I identified all these actionable items, and then I pick, because I can only do a couple things, I put them in priority, and then I consulted my to-do list, because in previous assessments, I had things that I was going to do, and so I consulted my list, and I took the couple things that I want to do and make sure that I put them near the top, and all the other things that I know that I got to do, I put those on the list. Hey, I noticed that on my execution, this is the 7th day in a row when I said that I should stop doing that thing that I keep doing. Maybe that's a trend. Maybe that's something that I really want to move to the top of my list and start fixing that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe my accountability partner, who knows what I'm doing, watches my process and can point out some things and ask good questions. Well, if I've done that, I now have the ability to not just treat each of these individual cases as one single trade with results, but I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to do this in a learning environment that lets me build on all of the lessons from each of these tactical efforts. And now, instead of going in every darn direction with my monkey mind, I can start going this way. Let's all go this way together, guys, towards our vision. So that learning strategy is how we're going to try to connect strategy and tactics. Now, in the middle, I have this thing that in the Army we would call operations or operational art. Operational art is simply the management that you use to organize the individual efforts of tactics to ensure that they are aligned with the directions and outcomes of your strategy. So I need to make sure my tactics are connected to strategy. Oh, it also goes the other way. Operations and operational art is what I do that when the boss gives me a strategy and I have to design the set of tactics that we're going to perform, this is operations. Operational art allows me to turn broad strategic goals and visions into particular actions we're going to take tomorrow and this week. And operations is how I ensure that there's a strong connection between those. And so an important element of operational art is learning.
Mm-hmm.
So now if I'm an organization and I'm engaged in a competition against a thinking opponent, every other trader in the market that's not in my accountability circle, hopefully we're not trading against each other. But an organization that wants to get better has to be a learning organization so that we do our best with the strategy and we do our best to create campaign plans and projects and proposals that give guidance on what to do at the ground level of tactics. But I also have to have in my campaign resources spent towards learning how to do each of those better and ensuring that I learn going forward. I want to be able to fail in the best possible way. By which I mean I want to fail by design, because I'm pushing myself to the boundaries and the limits, because that's where most of the rewards are. But I expect to fail sometimes, so I'm going to use money management to protect myself from ending it. So I'm going to use responsible money management as part of my operational art, my trading plan. Another word for operational art for trader, that's your trading plan.
Mm-hmm.
And my business plan for trading is how I survive. And then I'm going to learn how to thrive. If that takes you 5 years to do that, I would not be surprised. It took me 10 years to figure that out, for me, because I'm a thick-skulled, slow-to-learn, but never forget badger, right? So the principles of the learning organization are the things that we're going to do to make sure that each of the lessons we learn in the trades are contributing towards a better understanding of the world we live in for trading, the ecosystem. We're going to learn about ourselves and our organization and how to fail fast so that we can fail forward. We can fail intelligently so that we can get the maximum learning value out of each shortcoming, out of every result. And we're going to learn from that to explore our space so that we can then decide on what works best for us. And then we can raise our risk level and move from exploration, learning, into exploitation, which is the efficient capture of a robust edge using leverage and tools and systems to get the most out of what we have determined by evidence to be a good edge for us. So if we look at all of the great successful traders, each one of them has probably one really good system or idea or concept that is perfectly tuned to them and how they go. It's what Tharp called, a system that is perfect for you. But there's probably 9 or 10 other things that they do so that they don't lose. And all the great traders do those things. And they have that one thing that they do that is specially theirs. But there's a body of knowledge about things that you should do just to be more professional. Like proper position. And these are like the principles of THARP thing too. Proper position sizing, being aligned, good analytical skills, money management, managing your risk in the trade, etc. All the other things. Well, I hopefully have put them in the foundations course. That's the intention. Everything I've learned. So if we can learn to not lose, then we might be around here long enough to learn how to find that one thing that really works best for us. And then my hypothesis, my assertion is that you learn by doing, that the ball is the best teacher. That pay attention to that and look at each case study as a thing to learn from. So when I give you in the foundations course, it looks like a lot of material all over the place because it is. We're exploring all of the trading space, systems, self, psychology, and it is designed to allow you to explore that entire space. Sometimes there's things that you already know that resonate, and sometimes it's just a slight modification of something that you know. And other things are, hey, I heard about it, but I never really looked at. And then there's other things that are just like, what in the world was that? Well, when you put all of those things together, but you put it into this kind of sustain, improve, and action assessment plan, and you look at those critical processes, plan, prepare, execute, and assess, and you do it with accountability partners, and you develop your learning journal so that you can take note of the things that you want to work on immediately and then later for follow-on development. You got to make sure that you're capturing all of those things so that you have a program of action for deliberate learning based on the evidence that you accumulate. And if you've got accountability partners and trading tribes, then there is a mutual support that's available. So I'm pleased to hear that the stuff is starting to connect in various ways. It comes to you at different times. Like what I learned from my in my dissertation work with my military officers, I end up asking 5 questions after every block of instruction. So I got me up here, and then I got 16 guys in that room, and we're all talking about the topic, that lesson for the day. And I try to get them to do things in different ways and explore different ways of learning. And at the end of each session, I say, hey, what was the best thing? What was the worst thing? What was the best takeaway? By which I mean, what was the thing that hit you so well that, I can implement that immediately tomorrow without any extra thought? And it was just like, maybe it was a checklist. Maybe it was one more thing to do. Maybe it was that form that you gave me. Maybe it wasn't the best thing, but maybe it was such a good takeaway, I already know that I can add that to my toolkit. Then I said, what is the biggest remaining question that I'm going to answer in writing in a follow-up within 24 hours to them, so that they know that I have skin in the game, that I listen to what they say, and that my intention is to build forward. And then, what is the biggest surprise? What was the biggest aha moment? Because here's why that matters. We're all successful adults in the world, and so we've learned to multitask and to put the minimum mission essential attention and energy and effort into getting things done routinely. And we do that so that we can be very efficient, and then that gives us a return on our efficiency, and then that gives us capital in order to study other things, and we think we know how the world works, and we're pretty good at that, and that's why we're successful. So that whole mental model of your conscious thought is built on a foundation, if I can say it that way, a mental model of how the world works. And that's built on assumptions and beliefs and evidence and theories and practice. All that goes in at the unthinking level or the semi-conscious level, were habits and tendencies. And so you come into the classroom and we start talking about some stuff and you notice something, and then all of a sudden, what? I did not expect that. What just happened in an aha moment is that little world view that you had. You thought that as I was giving this little speech, that the very next thing that I was going to say was this. Because everything in your worldview predicts that the next thing that I'm going to say is that. But I didn't say that. Or the market didn't do that. I had a plan together and I thought I was going to do that, and then the market was going to do that, and instead it does this. The distance between what you thought and what actually happened is the amount of surprise. And now well, what was that? If I'm a monkey and I'm a knee-jerk response to changes, I just act on that, and then I start going that way and go this way. I come to a snap decision, and pretty soon my detailed, rehearsed, elaborate trading plan is all over the map because I'm responding thoughtlessly to every next event or random occurrence. So when you are in the classroom, how do you get over that? What I have to do is notice where I have an impulse for action and then know my own tendency. How does that impulse for action become an action? What was the trigger out of my subconscious as I'm going through the world? The world did something to me that I noticed at some level, and that created a trigger, which I then noticed and felt as an emotion or an urge, an impulse to act. I'm hungry, I'm scared, I'm tired. And then that impulse follows a biochemical process in your brain that leads to an action that's based on fight or flight, or fear and greed, because you're already primed to feel those because you're trading, because money. So when I am in the classroom and I'm studying things and I'm surprised, what was that thing? What I have to learn to do with mindfulness is just put a wedge in between there of mindfulness, so that I can see that impulse in that theater of the mind to rapidly sort it out, figure out what it is, what should I do with that, and then make a deliberate decision on what action I'm going to take, which might be just note it in my trading journal, study it afterwards, run an experiment on it to see if the impulse to action actually has any basis in evidence, or am I acting like a herd animal in a predictable way so that the market and the traders can eat me for lunch? So I always take the position that about 90% or more of my impulses for action are coming from my herd animal instincts, which I've inherited from 10 million years of evolution, and that I have some learned, I should have made that a little bigger. I have about 10% not drawn to scale. Maybe 10% of my impulses to action are a result of learned behavior in the battle circle, and that's like my instincts on the practice field. I still have an instinct to make this move, but I've got a learned behavior, a trained behavior that is instinctive because of intentional development of a habit, the same way James Clear talks about atomic habits. So at some point in some domain, you decide what you decide. You self-assess and say, how much of my behavior is intentional, intentional formed habits, and how much of it is just herd instinct. The wedge of the mindful moment creates the conditions in which every time I get an urge that is based probably on fear and greed, I can study it and do the right thing with it, and then I can get on with acting in the correct manner as I have learned, and then I'm going to take that evidence of all those impulses and I'm going to track them and see what is it that I can learn from that when it's time to learn. I don't want to try to learn on that when I've got live money on the line and I'm trying to execute a plan. But the reason that I don't have to act on it is that the monkey mind that generated that impulse is part of my team, and he knows that when he announces that impulse that I'm going to put it into the lab for study and that it's going to be addressed and I'm not going to overlook it. So he's content. He did his job. He gets a banana, he goes to the back of the car and rests and is not trying to drive. But if I neglect those impulses, then I accumulate a little emotional charge and I suppressed it. And then the next time I suppressed it. But pretty soon that energy starts building up and building up until it gets past the threshold. And then, bam, I got an impulsive action. And all of a sudden you snap and you say, where did that come from? That was the accumulation of emotional charge from all the other things that you knew that you should have been paying attention to, but you didn't. And that monkey comes in and kicks your butt and gets going. So that's what I mean by the learning strategy, the mindful moment, impulse control, mindfulness in your trading plan, and then learn to push that thing to the left and expand the area of effective action from professional behavior. The Godzilla concept. You know, get me started on this stuff. It's hard. You got to rope me in. The Godzilla concept is part of the sniper mentality. The sniper mentality says that we're going to generate targets on the basis of location and volatility, and we want abnormal. Abnormal location increases the probability of a large move in either direction. So we're looking for a compound critical state in which price location is either at an extreme overbought or an extreme oversold, or is so perfectly placed in the middle of the look back period that if it breaks out of that compressed area, there's a large move just to the top of the range or the bottom of the range. Check or hold. If the breakout from that range, from that congestion area, if there's three of those out to the breakdown, then I got a 3-to-1 in either direction. So a trade location that is tightly compressed inside a range, it's the opposite of breakout trading. It is exploration trading, or what expansion trading, call it. So I think of three different. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use multiple time frames to make sure that every different category of trader that's out there, I'm thinking about what they're seeing. So long-term buy and holders, I hypothesize, are looking at 30 weeks and 150 days, and if it's over bought to them, it'll be in the upper 10% of the 150-day range, or the bottom. And then the 30 days is the regular swing traders, so I'm going to look at 30 days. And then I'm going to look at short-term tactical traders like hybrid trading or day trading as 10 days. So I'm looking at three time frames, 150, 30, and 10. And I'm looking for abnormal trade locations on those. Check or hold. I'm then going to study, because I like the 5-day window, because 40% of the bear market meltdowns and bull market explosions, the greatest moves ever, 40% of those gains happened within 5 days. So if you get the 5-day move, that's very efficient, because you get a chance to get 40% of what's going to take 100 days. So in 1/20th of the time for the trade to unfold, I'm going to get 40% of the move in 5% of the time. That's an 8-to-1 leverage of your time by finding the compound critical states when the explosions are most likely. So I'm going to use a combination of location, as I just described, and volatility of the 5-day volatility. Nobody else in the world does it exactly this way, so we have an opportunity for a unique lens. What I do simply is I find the highest high and the lowest low of the 5-day range. I express that as a percentage of price. That's how volatile that symbol was in that 5-day period. Check or hold. I then go back 30 5-day periods. Now I have enough data points. I have 30 data points in which I can do descriptive statistics. And I'm going to find the maximum volatility of a 5-day period of those 30, and then the minimum, and then the average, and then the standard deviation of it. So I'm going to rank them from most volatile to least volatile. I'm going to put a Bollinger Band of plus or minus 1 standard deviation around that and just call that normal, and just say, look, at nothing special here. But I'm really interested in abnormally quiet and abnormally volatile, because from those two extreme conditions, I'm either going to get a continuation explosion to the upside or a failure to the downside, and that's going to be large, and that's going to be one of those 5-day explosive moves, or it could be so quiet that it could break out and then surprise everybody, and then momentum comes in and it's a huge move. That's the framework of sniper trading. The Godzilla is one particular pattern which says find strategically oversold, operationally oversold, and then any extreme volatility or any extreme location and abnormal volatility. That equals Godzilla. This is the filter that we use in our database, because we rank thousands of symbols every day. What's in a Godzilla format? What I show you is the subset of the S&P 500 and our tactical symbol set, because I just trade those anyway. And if it's in a Godzilla, I want to know, so off we go. And if it's a member of the S&P 500, it's a great place to start, because it's large, it's liquid, it's ready to go. And once it starts getting momentum, all of the guys in every time frame that have a trading system are going to find some kind of momentum play to play. So I know it's going to be in play, but it's at such an extreme level that everybody's scared shitless, except me. And I'm ready to go right now. And then that thing could go up the stairs and then fall out the window. Go take a look at EA over the last 100 days and just look at that. That was a Godzilla, and now it's already at the top. The market itself 100 days ago was in a Godzilla and is now near the top. Go ahead, Greg.
This relates to the questions that I sent you last night. Sort of, there's a gap for me in when we have our reporting to say, hey, there's an action that's going to happen, and maybe even a bias as to the direction that it might go.
Yep.
But I noticed in our nightly calls that we'll go, long or short with a particular, if the pattern presents itself, and reverse that scenario. So the gap is that analysis in the report versus the actions that we're
Right.
actually
Yeah.
taking.
So the analysis of the report is simply to identify a compound critical state, which means that I am ready to go. It's ready to make a large move in either direction, and I want to be not biased. But if I notice a bias, like we're at the very top of a breakout range in the market itself, and it's hard for the market just to become asymptotic. So I know that the market has a greater tendency for a downside move. But I'm also open to the possibility, because it's in a critical state, it could also have a large move in either direction. But I know that if it goes to the downside, I want to. If I ever had a chance to choose between this or that, and it's going down, if the market is going down and the sector is going down and my target is going down, I'm going to pile on that one because my analysis told me that I'm in a compound critical state which favors the downside move when it occurs. But I'm not going to predict it. I'm going to wait to see it, and then I'm going to slowly build the trade in that direction, and I'm going to get my risk out and start adding positions as driven by the particular price. In a compound critical state, that thing is like a popcorn. It can blow in any direction. If I see it going in the downward direction on Monday, I'm going to pile on. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing I can see. I'm looking for all the evidence of any direction of any mover. I want to find about 10 movers, line them all up, and start going with the first thing that starts jumping in that direction and get pulled towards that, being fearful all the way, but using exit management to get locked in. Over?
And
Yeah.
when you say pile on, you mean
Add
you're
second
adding
position.
more of
Yeah.
Okay.
Add second, or simply I got 10 things, a couple of them are starting to work, but the one to the downside, maybe my bias is take that one, all other things being equal, take the first mover or take the ones that are going down. I might actually just say for my trading plan, maybe I have such a strong belief that I cannot get into a zero state. So I'm just going to make a decision, say I am only going to take the short side on that trade because of reasons and live with it. But if it starts moving up, I just notice it. That's the impulse control. Notice it, you feel regret, put it on a list, study it later. 30 times when I made that decision, what was the net result? If that was, I should keep doing that, then I just learned that impulse control was good, or my rule was good. Hey, it turns out that I could actually go the other way. Maybe I need to shift my bias. But I'll do that after 30 data points. But I got to do something with that impulse while I'm trying to trade, or my head's going to explode. So the essence of what we're doing is to do plan and prepare to find these little cluster bombs of popcorn ready to explode in compound critical states. Realize that I might have a bias, but use my trading plan and procedures to be ready to go in either direction, follow it and go. If I survive, assess, take all those impulses, study them, and then adjust my rules for later. Bulletproof mind. When I am in planning, I'm finding the targets. When I'm in prepare, I'm constructing the trade frames for each of them ready to go in both directions. In execution, I am not thinking or changing my mind. I have a diamond mind which is permanent, unchanging, beautiful, and ready to go. If I survive, I'm going to assess that entire process and see if I need to change my ways. And just live with the results. As long as every time I fail, I didn't go long because my bias was short, I'm failing forward by design to gather the evidence to assess and study and improve my rules, but doing no harm to the team. I would rather be outside the trade wishing I was in than inside the trade, wishing I was out. And so the entire purpose of the report and the analysis is to see everything, talk about it, identify all those things with respect to the monkey, and then turn that into an actionable plan for tomorrow so that at the moment of LD, crossing the line of departure, I am ready to trade. Period. Diamond mine in place. Let's go. Now, if the signal is short, I'm short. Signal is long, I'm long. Do my best. Use my bullets to manage money. Get my risk out of there. No lose plus dinner for two. Span of control. Focus. I don't know what to do. Oh, then I get out. That's what I never don't know what to do. Because if I don't know what to do, I get out. Solved in one. Because I know how to re-enter. Re-entry is the easiest thing. Because the entry is only one of 10 decisions I'm going to make in the life cycle. All of these are how to manage the risk. And when price moves against me, I exit. So the entry is the easiest thing. Flip a coin and get in. If you're in a compound critical state, your risk is so small compared to the reward. Flip a coin if you have to take a position before it moves. Flip a coin and get in, and then manage risk. Because compound critical state will go one way, fake one, go two all the time. That's what I want to say about the Godzilla. The Frog Champions are the result of a long-term massive research project which found what are the daily trades and the swing trade symbols that are abnormally directional in terms of signal and noise. So if that is a price candle, the direction from entry or from open to close, that difference was signal, and the tiny little wicks are noise. I want things that move with large signal and small noise. Study those on day trades and swing trades, and the ones that are reliably directional in either direction are Frog Champions. We studied those. Here's a handful. I'm going to remind me to send you the planning worksheet that identifies all of them. But everything that you see me trading in my tactical set, EWZ, Mexico is EWW, Brazil, Mexico, Diamonds, Devon Energy, Cliff Natural Resources, Wheaton Precious Metals, I'm trying to think of the guy who does the casino, Win. Oh my God, the manic depressive Las Vegas casino company, Win, is the best thing ever. So they are reliable intraday, and we studied. I'll show you the follow up, but the symbols are the ones you need to know, and that's why I say start practicing on EWZ or DIA for aggressive large mover, reliable, consistent, deliberate mover. Those are the Frog Champions. So I'm always ready to trade those. That also is, I just answered number 3. How do you get chopped up in the river? Hey, the SSC starts with a harsh winter and then reverses. It's out of the river. Because the river is the Bollinger Band mean plus or minus 1. This thing already moved out beyond Z2 and is starting to make a trade. So the SSC and the collapsing dragon, by definition, start out of the river. Just trade those. Or, if it gets through the river and gives you a Kata 2 outside of the river, just take those. Don't take anything that's inside here. There you go. SSC, collapsing dragon, and Kata 2s that are outside the river. Done in one. That will guide you for the next 30 years. Just do that. 3-minute charts to 10 to 30 to 2 hours. All that really means is that we're going to change the time frame for decision making. If I'm on the 3-minute chart, I might have a 20-cent risk box. and then I have 40 cents of gain that I might make, and maybe I'm 40 cents in the money, and I got a 2-hour win. So maybe by that time I take my stop and I move it up into here, and now I can relax, and I can go to the 30-minute chart. I'm going to skip the 10 for a moment. Maybe I just go to the 30. If I looked at the 30-minute chart and the size of the PSAR flip box, on the 30-minute chart, the PSAR flip box might be that big. It might be 60 cents. Over here, it was 20 cents. So on the 30-minute bar, this thing, I could look back and see that my original trade was this. If I'd have done it on a 30-minute bar, it looked like this. And now maybe this thing has moved up this far, and I locked in on the 3-minute bar, this much. And that's about, on the 30-minute bar, let me say it differently. On the 3-minute bar, I've got a 2-hour win because it moved 40 cents. On the 30-minute bar, I'm plus 0.40 against 0.6. I'm at 0.6 R on a 30-minute bar if I had entered there on a 30. So now I'm at 0.6, so just relax. Let that thing get 2R on the 30-minute bar, which means I got to be $1.20. Now I'm at 2R on the 30-minute window. Hey, guess what? On the 20-minute, I got a 10R win on the 3-minute, and I was just managing this thing easily on the 30-minute. I could have 5 symbols on 30 minutes because I got all day to look at that. I get 30 minutes to manage 5 things. So I get a couple things started on the 3 minutes, and they start growing. I get my no lose plus dinner for 2. I just dump them over into the 30-minute. And I use the 3-minute like a greenhouse to plant a seed, start the growing campaign, move them to the field, and then just manage those 30. Now, the same thing for the daily bars or the 2-hour bar or all the way out to monthly bars. 3 and 30. That's how you get started. If you want, like if you want to not take overnight risk, you might just go 3 and 10 and be done. Maybe that's your ideal state. Or maybe it's the 10 and the 30. I use 3 and 30 and daily. And I am now using 3 and 30, 3-day, and 9-day, because those give such unique looks at the view of that price that nobody else is looking at it. I get a unique special look. So maybe you put the daily inside there. So that's a quick down and dirty. MACD settings. You're going to like this. If you go in TC2000, I can actually go in, and when I edit this, I can choose the RL10 as the data source to produce the signal line, which is the relationship between a simple 30-period moving average of the RL10 and a 10-period moving average of the RL10 with a 5-period exponential moving average. Look how smooth that little bastard is. There is this winter just changed enough to really be into spring. Now I'm interested. Now it entered the Red River. That's a COTA 2 entry. I'm already ready to trade that right here. And I know where the PSAR flip is going to be. There's my risk. There's the confirmation that the PSAR flipped. Here's, if I'm using the PSAR, it's here. I look at this and say, you know what? It's supposed to go and it didn't. I'm just going to accelerate my stop because I entered here. I'll move my stop to right there. There's my no lose plus dinner for 2. If I'm using TradingView and if they won't let you use the RL10 for that signal line, this is what I'm using the 430 on this one because Trader X likes that. But it's the same thing if I use the 1030. If I just use price, I get this. It's a little bit choppier inside here, but instead of a very clean break, it's here. But where I really need to know is there. This is where it entered the river. This is good enough. If you want your life to be smooth and easy, do this, especially if you're looking at 50 different symbols, or like I'm doing with Danny on the TC2000 bundle, I set alerts to that. And then I run that on 50 symbols. And when that alert, then and only then do I even come and look at the chart. Because if I'm a monkey, if I look at the chart long enough, I want to trade it. So that answers the... Now, if TradingView does not have that, send me a note, because we're going to send a note to Jeff Boccaccio and tell him to design it with code so you can do it in TradingView. He's at rfactory.io. He's an approved programmer and a student of mine. He's the chairman of education at the Society of Technical Analysis in London with 100,000 members of professional traders. He's the chairman of the education. Trusted agent. I think I answered that. I think all the questions are answered. I'm going to stop it there. You're welcome to stick around for creativity, but I owe those guys some time. So, thanks for kind attention. There was gold in that mine this morning, fellas. Gold. Great questions. Thanks for playing along. I got to take a quick sip of coffee. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to exit this to start the recording. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to break the recording into two pieces. So we're just going to drive one. You guys are welcome to listen to the true storytelling process that we follow for the creativity lessons. I would ask Jeff and Chunlong and Damien's permission for the guests to be here. They're on the team, and you'd be doing them a service, and it will raise the bar for you to learn how to do this in conditions of surprise. But when trusted people come into the True Story Circle, even though you've never seen them, these guys possess a human trust token which says they have proven that they can be here, says the team. So the human trust token concept, this is how you rapidly build trusted communities of action by creating a safe space and having a gatekeeper who can certify. Hey, it's like I just check them at the gate, you know. They're all right. These are good guys. I vouch for them. That's my human trust token to you. So with your permission, we'll proceed in. And I got to remember what lesson we're on. I think it's... Are we on 9?
Yes.
I think we're on 9. Okay. So let me stop sharing the window, because when we're engaged in deep listening, our job is to empty our bowls as the listener. Let's see, I gotta find the stop share. Here we go. So when we're engaged in deep listening in the True Story Circle, our job is to empty our bowl into the story that we're going to tell as best we can, to create time and space internally to receive the gift of fellow true storytellers' personal gift of truth, which are them telling their own stories from their lives. They're not telling anybody else's story, and they're not asking for help and advice. They are simply to testify to where they are as a gift to the universe. That's what they're here to do, is to practice and engage in telling the truth about significant things. Our job as deep listeners is simply to, it's not even a job, it's receiving that gift and letting it resonate deeply within us to think about later and to feel later. So we're not going to judge them, criticize them, critique them, advise them, recommend to them, engage in dialogue inside the sacred circle. We're really there just to witness the birth of a truthful moment, unique to that time and place. And the universe is listening and watching how we act when we're given a gift. So with that in mind, I'm going to welcome everybody to the room for a brief check-in to get set, and then I'll hit the tones and move us into the sacred circle. All is well here. I'm a little hoarse because yesterday 5 hours on the soccer field with wet feet, and then stayed up till 3 on that artificial intelligence project, and that's causing a little gravelly. I'm training my Johnny Cash voice this morning, fellas. So there you are. So that's my check-in. All is well. Got soccer later this afternoon with the academy, and then we're going to go watch our local pro women's team play, and then we're going to eat barbecue to break our fast later tonight. Yes, this is as good a day in Kansas as you could ever have. Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm great. Yesterday was a beautiful day. We had a turn in the weather, so it's cooler and looking like rain today. So I'm not sure outside activities are going to be in order, but all is well in Louisiana.
What's that plane behind you? It looks like the Super Tucano, if I'm
That's the
being
one I
honest.
fly.
Is that the Tucano? It looks like a Tucano.
Actually, that's the air tractor.
Okay,
Yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty. Good morning, Chun Long. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Ken. Good morning, everybody. A nice week. Start to clean my backyard for the spring season. Put some zucchini seeds in my small greenhouse already out. A good remedy for my trading psychology. I hope.
Nice. Good morning, Damien. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing fine. It was a productive week. I finally got my greenhouse up without outside help. I had to do it on my own because I couldn't find anybody to give me a hand, but it's done. So then we can start planning. I hope.
Very good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move us into the sacred circle, and looking forward as always to your work in progress. Here we go. Chun Long.
I get a quick start anyway. My word of last week is intention. The intention creates reality. Intention actualize my dreams. I keep thinking about my psychology. You know, as a super trader, finished my 3-year program. I assume I know my psychology, but I haven't figured out how to overcome many weaknesses. So last week I reinvestigate intention. There's some conflict in my deeper mind, so I just let that figure out. So my trading so the week before last week, I started one share trading, but the one share trading is kind of tricky because even I get a 3-hour winning trade, if I look at the P&L, I still lost money because the the MRV is large enough. No, the commission is large enough. Even 3R will not cover commission. So last week I changed a little bit. I trade 3-minute charts, but I use R3. That means 1/3 of the ridge stat to size my trades. So basically, that's equal to the piece of flip box on the 30 minutes charts. But I use that and a $10 risk to get my size, then trade on 3 minutes. So when I trade 3-minute charts, I think that risk is small. I can handle, but it's larger than one share trading. So give me a good indication, winning or losing trades. So that's the change I made. So last week also, I paid the commission by that way because my winning can cover the commission for the whole week. I paid my commission, get some dollar maybe to buy a burger. But I made a lot of mistakes, many mistakes. Not really well prepared to trade. Put too many symbols in my watch list. That make me miss the good entry. The other mistake I made is didn't hold the winning trade. I short the Bitcoin ETF 3 days in a row. I nailed the entry. My entry is perfect, but just because I didn't let that run, it end up with a small winning. You look at Thursday move, afternoon, the collapsing dragon, and the Friday, the collapsed dragon. I didn't hold that. That's something I did. I really regret. So because of those mistakes, I get a bad feeling Friday afternoon. I even don't want to think about trading. That emotion continued to Saturday. I don't want to think about trade. I just feel bad, but not as bad so I can do something else, like cleaning my yard, do some planning, preparation, but just don't have the courage to think about trade until afternoon, the time to watch some Ken's recording, finally get the courage, attend the nightly podcast. It's interesting to watch myself, just don't have the energy go back to thinking trading. So that's what I learned from my trading. This morning I do the lesson 9. My mind wandered around. I just curious about wabi-sabi. What is the orange of the words? What I found out is that the original words come from Asian Chinese. The wabi and the sabi, the orange of Asian Chinese words, nowadays, they're rarely used. I actually haven't used that once in my life. I see myself an educated person, but that's how Asian the concept is. The wabi in Asian Chinese means a ambitious person didn't realize his dream, even defeated. That's what the wabi means. The sabi means that person being alone, being in silence. So the whole world have a meaning for me. That's something related to my trading. I haven't been successful. I'm alone at home. And then what do I do? Then I go to the next concept, kintsugi, how to cure myself. So basically, I need to cure myself from previous failure treating. The reason, I never had that is my position size too large. So I get a really bad feeling about treating, even after a couple of years, still not recover from that. But the kintsugi concept can help me to realize the imperfection and how to make that into a beauty. Look at the exercise, didn't have time to finish all the exercise. This is my second round of the lesson, but still there are deeper content. I have to dig more to get more from the lessons. That's it. I hope.
Jeff, hey, let me also say, hey, welcome to Ken. Hey, our 3 visitors are trusted agents. They have My Human Trust token. They're in about the 4th week of foundations, and we're humbled and happy to be required to come attend and to meet you guys and the great work that you do. So, cool. Jeff.
Hello, everyone. So my word of last week was simple, and I thought about that a lot. I also thought about, I didn't remember that it was Chen Long's word, but intention was also on my mind this past week. Lesson number 9 resonated a lot with me because at the heart of the lesson, it basically says you get good at something by doing it. The more you do it, the better you get. I have a lot of evidence in my life to support that theory. Kind of ties in with the previous lessons. It says constantly plan and constantly story and imagine different possibilities. Most of them you'll never exercise, but having those in your brain for instant recall when you need them is kind of how pilot training works, right? We force those guys into situations during training and simulator training to make them think up those solutions, and then they have them through the rest of their career, or at least until the next retraining cycle. So if something bad happens, it's been at least simulated and they have a plan for that. On the exercises, I'm actually using these. I'm not going to go into detail on exercise 1 and 2, or maybe it was just a note. It says, imagine new ways to fulfill your responsibilities and job mandates, and imagine how people I respect would plan it, etc. So those are real-time activities for me right now in my business. So out of respect for other people that are involved, I'm not going to read all the details, but those are actionable items for me this week and going into next week in our business. Exercise 1 says, what would you do if you're promoted into your superior's role? I hold that role, so it's just as challenging trying to figure out when you're in that role than imagining what you would do as the boss, right? I always tell my guys that my job is always open. If anybody wants it, all they have to do is just come into the office and raise their hand. I'll give it to them. The guy at the top of the stack, I always say, you get to work longer than everybody else, harder than everybody else, and you get to do the jobs that you can't hire anybody else to do. So there's challenges at every level of any organization. Exercise 2 was identify a work plan that you have high confidence in, and then imagine a second plan that is highly detailed and you have just as much confidence in. So like I said, those are actionable items for me at the moment. It has to do with change management and safety management systems and so forth, retaining key employees. Trader exercise number 9, the flashcard deck. As you probably heard for the last 2 or 3 weeks with me, I think that's my new thing. Started off the week with low energy, just a thing, but unusual for me. I usually start off strong, and the challenge is holding that momentum to the end of the week. But last week, I just started out at the bottom and had to claw my way up. I actually ended the week on a really good note. And I think it had to do with the fact that I realized immediately that I was in a low energy state and I had to do some different things than I normally do to work my way out of that. I didn't want to stay there all week long. So one of the things that happened again is my computer crashed and I lost about 4 hours worth of work because the automatic backup file was corrupted. So it didn't work. And as Ken and I discussed, I don't know if you can see this, it won't focus on it. I have a dedicated bullet journal now just for my trading. Before, everything went into my one journal, my business, personal, and trading. But I'm actually going to separate the trading out since my primary work in progress is to become more professional in my trading activities. I'm going to have my flashcards and my bullet journal for my trading. And obviously I use technology, but I want to back up. So the trading flashcard deck is a work in progress for me since I'm not an artist by nature. I have these cards that have lines on one side of them and a blank on the back page. So I can put the sketches and the description, or the sketches and art on the back. And then on the front, I can write out words and descriptions. So that's how I'm approaching that. But I imagine it's going to take me a month or more to get all of these flashcards done. Down to the last, I watch every single one of Ken's nightly podcasts because I think just one of them, if you watched it over and over, is a trading system. So after watching hundreds and hundreds of these, I can follow his narrative very well, and I could actually narrate one of his charts in a similar fashion that he does. And I do that with myself on my own charts. Imagine teaching your children how to trade. One thing that came to me this week was a realization that years ago when I first got introduced to Ken through his core trading system and then his swing home study course. And then as he started talking about the river and the dragon and the crocodiles and all that, I have to admit that at the very beginning, I didn't see a lot of value in that because I knew what Bollinger Bands were already. But I realize the genius in it now. If you had to take a very complex subject and explain it to a layman, those analogies is exactly how you would have to do it. There's no other way. Otherwise, they're just going to give up early on. And I've had that same challenge trying to teach my son how to trade and trying to encourage him, to take charge of his investments and so forth. And he just doesn't have any interest in it. So I realized the genius and the challenge of trying to take a complex subject like trading and teach it to a young person today. You have to create something that makes sense and something that's interesting. So Ken has the most creative way I've ever seen of explaining this information. Another thing that came out of the lesson is that, all these words have the same meaning. So story, plot, plan, and strategy, it's all the same thing. In Ken's Alpha Mind podcast, he asked the question, how many words in the English language have different meanings? All of them. I've had foreign friends of mine say that English is the hardest language to learn because of all the slang and the different uses of the same words have opposite meanings. Let's see. So my word was simple. And a couple of things that stuck with me and I made notes of this week was the idea of plan, prepare, execute, and assess. Those are the things that we're all working on, various stages of each one of those. And it seems like they're all works in progress, right? You never find the solution that lasts forever. You're constantly tweaking and changing as markets change. And I would, you know, for example, the 2020-2021 market was vastly different than the 2022 market. So the idea of unplanned but well prepared, that's kind of the story of my life. And, you know, there's no substitute for doing the work. It seems like that's the thing that's required to get to the goal. There's no substitute for it. You can study all you want, but you have to actually go out in the world and kick the soccer ball and make the trade and fly the airplane. Otherwise, you're just stuck in the classroom, right? I want to give a shout out to Ken's Alpha Mind podcast. That's the last thing I did this week, and I actually have listened to it twice already. I'll probably listen to it again. Packed with lots of good stuff. So my system tracking is going to be dedicated to I have a digital journal that I do, but I'm also going to put the artifacts in my bullet journal and my flashcards. It's how I've been doing things for a long time. So the idea of well prepared, but not over planning. My question was, how much planning is enough and how much preparing is enough? So just a couple of things from my life. I'm always thinking about downstream effects of decisions that I have to make in the moment. And I tell everybody that works with me, if you storm in and demand a decision immediately, I'll give you one that I can live with. But it may not be the one you want. But if you give me time to process and think about it, I may be able to come up with a better decision for everybody. But if you force me to make one right this second, I can do it. And I do it all the time. And I make the one that I can live with. But sometimes other people aren't happy with that. Later, sometimes I change my mind, but I have to think about the downstream effects of these decisions that other people may not have thought about. They usually come in and they want me to do something for them in the moment. And it's not always that simple. But I produced a whole lot of work this week, which was strange because early in the week I put a post on the lesson that said, I'm not very excited about this, you know, but I hope by the end of the week I will be. So to respect your time, I'm not going to read all this. So the visual box trading has stuck with me. I continued to do it again this week, not completely stripped of all the indicators, but focusing primarily on the box. And one thing I realized in aviation, we're always looking for two kinds of aviators: undisciplined aviators so that we can weed them out of the system so that they don't hurt somebody, and disciplined aviators so that we can take them and train them and make them into the future leaders in our organizations. And disciplined versus undisciplined trading, I think all you need as a system is a visual box and a trade frame. That actually is the difference between the undisciplined trader and the disciplined trader, because by framing the trade and drawing the box, it, I think, is enough. That's what you have to do to be in the disciplined category. And that was an aha moment for me this week. Everything else after that is value added, but I think those two things are required every day on every trade. And I think I can honestly say that I'm a disciplined trader because I have my trade frame and I have my risk box. And that goes to one of the things we teach in aviation, which is a calculated risk, which we take many of, versus an uncalculated risk. I think a calculated risk is always safer than an uncalculated risk. And it's the same in trading. It's the difference between an impulse trade and a pre-planned trade that materializes in real time. Onto my word simple. I'm a minimalist by choice. I wasn't always. I reached a decade ago, I was successful enough to have many of the things that I always wanted in my life and couldn't afford. And then after I got a lot of those things, I realized that the more things I had, the less I got to enjoy any of them because it was just too much to carry. So my definition of minimalism is not the least amount of something, it's the perfect amount of something or the right amount of something. So I was asking myself, what's the perfect amount of planning, preparing, executing, and assessing? Too much of anything doesn't seem like a good thing to me. It begins to feel like a burden that I can't carry. And not enough means that I'm probably going to fail. So, you can plan and plan and plan. And I think you can carry that too far because you still can't predict. You make plans. So I think you need to plan enough, but not too much. And the same preparation, the same thing. If you prepare forever, you never get to the execution phase. So a couple of examples. Last fall, I rode my motorcycle from the west coast of the U.S. back to Louisiana. And we planned it as a trip with other people, but it's one of those yes, maybe no things. Everybody wants to do it. And then as the reality sets in, they start dropping out. And on the day that I left, I'm the only one, right? But I just went anyway. So the plan was pretty simple. The preparation was pretty extensive, a couple of months of part-time preparation. And then the execution was easy because nothing bad happened. I didn't have a flat, didn't break down. And strangely enough, had a 10-day weather window of near perfect weather. So the opposite side of that is people that do no planning and then really bad things happen that they're surprised at, that they shouldn't be surprised, that any amount of planning and preparation would have uncovered those possibilities. So I guess I'll just close with this. I've got a lot more, but I want to respect your time. So at the beginning of the week, nothing seemed to go right. All my planning just went away. So I had to replan. I realized that I was in a low energy state, which was unusual for me. So I took steps to recognize and change that, and it worked. And by the end of the week, I was just grateful for the lessons that I learned and for the opportunity to face these insignificant challenges that seemed so big on Monday, but by Friday, they were all solved. And I had to ask myself, how big were they really? In the grand scheme of things, I have an easy life. I don't worry about a roof over my head or many of the things that people in the world have to face every day. So perspective is everything, I think. And probably that's true in trading as well. And then on the other thing that I thought about, I went on a motorcycle ride yesterday, listened to Ken's Alphamine podcast as I rode around the back roads in Louisiana on a beautiful day. Ended up stopping halfway through and making notes in my phone because the podcast was just that good. But I thought about the act of riding a motorcycle, which I've been doing since I was 5 years old, riding dirt bikes and stuff. So most of the people in the world won't even do it. They think it's far too dangerous. But the guys that do it have a desire that propels them through, or an intention. That was the word that I thought about, was the intention or the purpose or the desire. Maybe that has to come before anything else, because if you don't have a strong enough desire to fuel you through the hard times or to get you to face those fears, then you never do any of the other steps. So on a motorcycle, you have to want to do it bad enough to do it, knowing that you're going to fall down at some point. Everyone does, but doing it anyway because you have a reason for doing it. And then after that, you need knowledge and skills, which you can acquire in the beginning. But you also need balance and feel, which are two things that you can't see. They're not observable. And motorcycle riding is very difficult to teach because you can't observe a good ride unless it's at the extremes. You really can't observe the details of how a good rider is riding and how a bad rider is riding. And I think trading is the same way. So it made me rethink the intuition part, the feel, and the balance of trading, all of which I think are necessary, but I've never really put a lot of emphasis on. So those are things that continue to be works in progress for me. And I know at the beginning of this week, metaphorically speaking, I was completely out of balance, off my game. And just the fact that I recognized that and took steps to correct it got me back closer to where I needed to be by the end of the week. So aho.
As I'm looking for my little striker, I remember what we say in mortar gunnery to level your bubbles.
Yeah.
Oh, got you by a hair, Ernie. Both of you raising your hands out of a sense of duty and obligation. I respect that. Taking one for the team. Ernie.
I was doing it because I felt guilty for being late. I have 2 meetings on the weekends. One of them is at 8:30 on Saturday, and this one is at 10 o'clock. I have to get that into my head, but I flip the which one's on the 30, which one's on the half hour. So I apologize. And yeah, I was early for my meeting yesterday. So I'm late today. I am very sorry. So I hope you don't mind if I flip things just a little bit, but I'm going to start with my word. And right now, the word is apology. It's what I owe you. And but I also owe it because I was going to participate last week, and it wasn't because I didn't do it, not because I was late. I was on time. Matter of fact, I had everything lined up. I put in the URL and had my hand on my on the on this thing and ready to push the button, but I wasn't there in my head. I had not prepared. The week was weird, and I was letting a project kind of take over everything that I was working on, and so my word, and this is, I love the fact that lesson 9 is a story. I hope I have the right lesson. But I really do like this lesson. I've been thinking about it all week, and I always feel that whenever people are giving their word, that there's a story behind that word, and I'm always curious what it is. And sometimes you guys will share it whenever you're talking, and sometimes you don't. So I always kind of wonder, is it what the story is behind the word that you give? And so my word is, I've been thinking about it all week, is balance. So Jeff, I'm interesting that you had talked about that because I was really thinking about balance in my life, and the fact that I was letting this one project that I have, that I was kind of letting it take over everything. And it's been fun. This wasn't something that I was regretting to do. It was something that I was enjoying, but I know that I have to have a routine. There are certain things that I just have to do. And I've noticed that in my training, that one of the things that I was letting go for the past week was I wasn't journaling. I wasn't doing the charts, and I was trading. I did some things, but I was just thinking, I don't have time for this. And the goal is just to do it. So on one side, I'm patting myself on the back saying, yeah, you're doing it. But in my heart, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it right. I know that there are things that I need to do. I do need to do the journaling. I do need to do the charting. And because how am I going to learn from what I'm doing? How am I going to get the full story? of what I'm doing. So I really had thought about that and realized that I needed to get my act together. You just, no matter what is going on, even if there's a crisis, there are certain things that you have to do. You have certain obligations, you have certain responsibilities, and no matter what, you fulfill those obligations. So it's something that I have been working on and have been thinking about all week. And so I was looking forward to having a chance, a do-over, or making amends, coming back with you guys and trying to get back on track. And I think mentally I've done that. So I think I'm ready to go. So, and I have been taking notes all week long, and I've been putting them everywhere. So that was one of the things that I did this morning, was gathering it all up, trying to get the chapters of my story in the right place, because I tend to go all over, and you probably have noticed that in the past. So anyway, I did allow my involvement in my new project to supersede my normal daily priorities, and therefore my word is going to be balanced. So I know what's reasonable, and I know what my capabilities are, and I know my limitations, and I just need to put those things in order and take the next step. So with the lesson being story, I really like this lesson. I consider myself to be a bit of a dreamer, and that I like to imagine, what if this happens? What if I take this path? What if I go on this journey? So I like to imagine these things. And as a child, my mom used to jump all over me because she knew, it's kind of like, what daydream are you having now? I enjoyed my daydreams. And probably got more involved in those things that I should have. But I like the idea from the lesson that your life is a story and that you're free to plot it. You don't have to do the things that you plan. It's your choice. You get to make the choice. And the whole thing about storying constantly is the responsibility that you have to make the decisions that you're going to make. Whenever you make the plans, part of the thing when we do a vacation and stuff, the vacation is fun, but the planning is also something to be enjoyed, and to getting into that, plotting what you're going to do. I have some friends that we do things together, and we would take trips to Las Vegas together, a bunch of guys, and the whole thing is plotting what we're going to do. Even when we're in Las Vegas, we plot out the day and what adventure are we going to have, and then sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. But and then the stories afterwards, those stories do get expanded, because I think we talked about something that we did 20 years ago, and I'm listening to somebody to tell someone else about what we did, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I don't quite remember it that way. These things start to get they become this expansion of what we did. We had something. One of the things that we did in Las Vegas was to go to the dam, and this was back in the 70s, and I don't know what it's like now, but I'm sure it's a lot more restrictive. But I do remember that we were going down these stairs, and we thought we were in a place that we weren't supposed to be, and then we went. I just wanted to see what was at the bottom, and then what happens is that once you're down there, you realize that you have to go back up, and there really wasn't anything at the bottom of those steps. And when we came out, there was a guy that was like I don't know if he was a guard or a security person, but he asked us, how we what we thought of our journey, our little adventure that we had going into the dam. And I was really impressed because I remember putting my hands on the wall and just feeling the vibration, and just thinking how that we were towards the bottom of Lake Mead, and that just thinking of all the pressure of that water and the power. You don't know if you're feeling the vibrations from the lake, or are you feeling the vibration from those generators? I mean, they were massive. I remember standing next to the thing and feeling how huge they were and the power that was going on with that. But we when we came out, we kind of felt like we were in places that we weren't supposed to be. And so when the security guy was talking with us, we were just saying, were we in any trouble? And he said that, no, he said, we just felt like you guys were idiots for going down there because there's nothing to see. And you're going to have a long walk back up those stairs. And as you found out, it was easier going down than it was coming up. And so he said, no, we were kind of amused what you had done because there was nothing to see. But if you felt you saw something, then good for you, but there was nothing there. So, but we don't tell people that. We just let them know that we were all over that dam and we were in places that we weren't supposed to be. But and I just remember when my friend was telling the story, it was like, it wasn't as exciting as he was making it out to be, but that's okay. We enjoyed our story. So that was great. One of the things that I was hoping that I wanted to tell you about was there's an exercise that what if you were promoted into your supervisor's role? I don't know if one of the things that I did in my job, we would attend conventions. I also got together with my colleagues, at dinners. After work, we would go and have drinks and we would talk about the job. And there would be times where you want to say, well, if I were in charge of this chicken operation, this outfit, here's what I would do. And we all had ideas. And everything that we talked about is that if we were in control, here are the changes that we would make. So our stories always involve change if we were in charge. And I don't know, some of our stories weren't complimentary, because there were people that we would like to see out of the way. And I remember when I started my job, there were a lot of people that were in charge, and they were the old guys, and they needed to kind of step away as far as we were concerned. And we would certainly do a lot of things differently. And then one of the things that I noticed after being in my job for 30 some years, I started noticing the young people, and I started thinking in my mind, I know exactly what they're thinking. We can't wait for you to get the hell out of the way so that we can make our changes, and here's what we would do. So I like that exercise. It's something that I did while I was working, and it's something that I'm still doing. What if I'm in charge? But I'm doing it from the investing side, because it's like, well, I have money that I'm going to invest. Here's what I'm going to do, because now I am in charge. Now I do. It's my story, and I'm going to make it be what I want it to be, or what I hope for it to be, and I'm going to take those steps to do it. And so that's an exercise that I hope everybody really does. And for me, it was good during my life, and it still fits. There are two words that I like in my story. It's what if. And I apply it with investments. It's what if the stock price goes up? What if it goes down? What if the Fed raises rates? What if there is a dividend declared? And then with I have my flashcard that I have created for my trade framing. And it's the same type of questions, what do I see? What could it do? which way would I trade? And where would I enter? What happens when I enter? What would I do if it fails? Would I stop and reverse? There's a lot of what if situations. There are two words though that I really don't want to be part of my story. And it's if only. If only I had done this, if only the stock price had gone up, if only the stock price had gone down when I shorted. I don't want if only to be a part of my story because it means that I didn't do what I should have done. I didn't fulfill my responsibility. So the dates, those are the things that I have been thinking about. I wrote a lot of stuff down. This lesson really triggered a lot of things for me. I don't know why. But there were just a lot of things that I really liked in it. I like the fact that we talked about the Shakespeare and the stories that he wrote. I really like the fact that we're talking about that innovators plot relentlessly, and that no plan is final. I really like the word relentlessly, that how important that is. And that I just think that exercising our brain by creating the story and then fulfilling those stories and making it happen, it's a wonderful part of life. And so I've enjoyed my investing experience. I've enjoyed the stories so far that I've had. And I knew there was one more thing that I'd written down that I really wanted to say, but I can't remember what it is at the moment. Let's see. Oh, yeah. The fact that you devised a plan, you don't have to execute it. You need to feel free to, and I really like the way they express this, you need to feel free to thought experiment adventurously. It is an adventure, and it's a great adventure. So thank you for letting me share my story. Aho.
Ken.
Hey everyone. So if it makes you feel better, Ernie, I was late as well. I was just a little bit earlier than you. So and I'm sorry about that. Yeah, today's been a busy day. I suppose I'll do a little bit of check-in. So we bought my young son a bike, and he's now really into cycling. He loves the bike, and so I kind of went with him today. And actually, I've been using my wife's bike before because I didn't know if I didn't want to pay for a bike that I then don't use, so I wasn't sure. So anyway, so I took actually the older son's bike. And man, it's quite incredible. It's quite a different riding experience to my wife's bike, which is kind of older, clunkier, and it's got all the things for carrying bags and stuff like that. And I guess it's the right machine, the right tool for the right job. It makes a difference, like trading, I suppose. You gotta have the right thing. And so it was nice. Went out this morning. Yeah, I had a ride, and then after that he had a football game. So I came back. I thought it was like 3 o'clock. Sorry, might not make sense to you, but this session starts at 4 o'clock for me. So in my time, UK. So I think it was about 2:30 when I got back, 3 o'clock. So I said I'll just probably have a coffee and everything and just shut my eye for a few minutes. And when I opened my eyes, it was past 4 o'clock. So apologies for that. It's good good to be back. I missed last week, which was supposed to be my schedule week. I come like I try to come every 2 weeks, but we just driven back from the north of the country. We went to the Lake District, so it's really nice. But we had a long trip, a long drive back. I think it was like 6, 7 hours. But so I couldn't. I wasn't. I wasn't in the right state to really come. So okay, now to this week. Interesting lesson. I struggle with it a little bit about storing constantly and whether while thinking about whether I actually did that or not, as the case may be. But there's I think in the article it says you can practice these two skills every second of your life. Because your life itself is a story, which means you're free to plot it. And I'm kind of feeling at this time it's because so I've been working on Ken's the sniper trading for about 6 months now. I think it was September, October that I started, and it's still pretty hard going in terms of results, pretty average, meaning like it's probably around break even time. And I was kind of thinking, is this something that I of course envisioned when I started that yeah, I'll be there, you're knocking out 2 hours on average a day, and then before you know it you'll be financially free and all this all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of not happened yet. And I'm kind of thinking, is this the story? Can I change this story? Do I need to, is this all about imagination and rescripting or what? And the other thing that's kind of there is I think most of you may actually have been with Van Tharp and know about the self-sabotage and his work on that and how we can deal with it. Someone asked me to do this assessment. It's also called saboteurs. I think it's called saboteurs, which I thought so because I knew Van Tharp, so I thought it's quite interesting and to take a different look at it. And one of these saboteurs or one of these follow-up emails I got was about are you one of when you're in a team and the project and it's something is not quite right, are you one of those who go and say, oh, look at that, the team is doing a terrible job? Or do you say, hey, look at the progress we've made and what can we do to make this go ahead? I thought that was kind of appropriate to what my own situation is. Am I saying, hey, man, this is not going anywhere, this trading? Or do I look, can I actually even see the progress I have made? And I believe I have made a lot of progress. Sometimes you just don't see it in terms generally in trading. The mentality and the mindset and the really just experience with the trading world I think I've learned a lot there. I probably just need to sit down and write it out. I did have a flash of kind of insight that I want one day, and I thought, wow, yes, actually I realized that I've come a long way. So I guess for me it's just a word to myself to also celebrate the progress and keep going. Which is why this session is actually great for I get to come here, empty my bowl, and listen to everyone's struggles as well, triumphs and struggles, and it's kind of encouraging in that way. So, I missed your first half, Chen Long, but I guess you were talking about something about the trading and difficulty. So actually, I appreciate the sharing, and it helps me to keep going. So thanks for that. Interesting thing this week, aha moments. I think if I had to give it a kind of theme, it's like a east-west difference. So one of the things I think, Ken, you've been really prolific, and I think this AI has really been helping you. Okay, so one of the emails I got, you were talking about Jinzi. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to pronounce it this way, but it's the Confucianism, and I think it's very familiar to Chen Long. Actually, that word Jin, it's actually my name. Kyun is Jin. Except because I'm in a different I'm a dialect. It's like pronounced in a dialect rather than the Mandarin. So I thought, hey, that's really interesting. That caught my attention. So I looked into. So I read that email with a lot of interest, and I'll probably be registering for the course. I have no idea what you intend for that, Ken, but I think it's just why not, man? It's kind of funny because I knew my mom, who of course my parents who gave me the name. They actually named it. It was from this term that they took the first character, and I knew that, but I actually never knew the whole implication and what's behind it. I've just heard it said like this, and now that I got this email, so I looked. Actually, now we have Google and everything. So we can actually looked it up and did a bit of research into it. And so I'm just like, oh wow, this is very interesting. It was named after this term. I'm sure they had high hopes for me, but I think I'm very far from the the ideal of that term. But I think, as I said before, I suppose you want to look at the progress, and there's still ways, there's still a ways to go. So so that's been a great aha moment, and thanks for that, Ken. It's kind of interesting. And connected with that, I think if I can read this from Wikipedia or whatever, I think it was Wikipedia. He said that Junzi acts according to proper conduct, which is Go Li, I think is in Mandarin. And I keep thinking that is something that is, I think, in my life, it's been or how do you say it, or it's just something that's been imparted to you, and I'm thinking, is that because somebody actually told me or taught me this thing, or um or because it's just there? Is there something with being like Asian or Chinese Asian um that these things just permeates, it's in your DNA or something? I don't know. Maybe it's a society you were in, because you don't think about it that much. But I realized that also in general, a lot of Confucianism, the philosophy, actually is how we conduct, or Chinese people in the society, even overseas, conduct the way they see things, especially my mom. But I never actually realized that before. So that itself, it's actually quite interesting for me. So that was the Junzi thing. And then of course this week we have the lesson on Wabi Sabi. And it says again here that that the Wabi Sabi lifestyle upholds values that contrast sharply with the Western culture. So again, there is this East-West thing for me. And going back to the Junzi thing, I think in Ken, the email, you said there's something about it's not being exactly the same thing in the Western world as well. So yeah. So for me, this is kind of what the universe is, what I'm hearing from the universe this week, something about East West, and kind of wondering about myself, and whether, even though I've been living in here for a long time, whether there's still that kind of East West thing going on. Then going on to AI, I mean, it's been incredible. And even today, as I was doing my lesson, while writing the notes on which I do on Word, and I was looking at this Junzi thing, and I don't know what I pressed, but somehow I got a researcher function. It's like a sidebar, and that works on AI, because it just says you type this in and it gives you all list of resources out, from Bing, I think, from the Internet or whatever it is, the new Internet Explorer. So I thought, wow, AI is really, really taking this in whole new, different ways. That's fascinating. About the lesson itself, I didn't have time to do the flashcards, but I recognize how powerful it is again. yeah. So it's just I need to go through it, and I actually not very clear what flashcards mean. Is it just like what I think it means? It's just like a list of words, or is it the charts that we posted, or that's posted on the lesson? I suppose that could be if I mark up my charts for for review and for writing. I don't know, and the patterns, I suppose I could draw those things. But I didn't actually finish or manage to go through it a lot. But I can see the power, and I'm going to sit down and really answer at least a few of those questions, which I think would be useful for me. Then let me see what I'm so now if I tell you about the work in progress. So I mean, you'll have noticed that I haven't actually posted a chart for a while. It's not because I actually stopped trading, but what I have been doing, well, I was sick for 2 weeks. I think I told you that last week, so that messed up my systems myself. And I actually I've been trying the 30-minute the hybrid trading. Well, when I say trying, I mean it's difficult enough just getting the screen set up and the process for monitoring the 30 minutes. So I had a bit of a tough time with that. And then I found out that I couldn't actually trade using the same paper trading system because the trades would conflict. So if you bought one and then you wanted to sell like on an intraday, you would just close your trade. So I had to go through all that. So it's been a big learning curve. Teething issues. But so far, I managed to I think enter a few small trades, but live, but very very small. So at least that's kind of rolling. And also, I think the aha for me, moving on from that, is that I realized that this sniper system. So I have kind of a block now in terms of firing, because for the symbols I trade, I think it's been quite a tight range. Not wanting to give an excuse, but I think the last week or so, or maybe even 2 weeks, has been in a small range, so it's been difficult. But then I had a flash of kind of insight, is that it's a game of numbers, really. The system, CAN system, as he's demonstrated, the RL10, the sniper, the whatever, the PSAR flip, the SSC, the Carter 2, and collapsing dragon, is it collapsing dragon, CD, and the emerging dragons. I mean, those are the patterns, and when you trade those, it's a numbers game. You got to trade them enough time, and be disciplined enough to generate a positive expectancy. I'm sure they generate a positive expectancy. So it's not about just the one loss, or to prevent this loss and to prevent that loss. I think that's what was happening with me. There will be losses. Losses are part of the game, and then you got to learn to manage those in terms of making them smaller and making them fewer. My particular problem is I always get into a chop situation, and then you get chopped 3-4 times, and if you're talking minus 0.5, let's say for east, that's 4 times is minus 2R, and then you're in a big hole, right? So that was my problem. Anyway, so that's my work in progress, and I think that's it for me this week. Good to be here again. I hope.
Good morning, Damien.
Good morning. Um, I will be honest with the group. This week, my priorities were not in trading and studying. My priority was to get my yard ready for planting, and it's not a big yard, but it still has to be done, and I'm sore all over. So, um, well, one of the things I did read the lesson, even if I didn't do, the work, um, and I put a note, I think, someplace on one of your websites, Ken Long, is I feel that I am overwhelmed. And because of that, probably doing yard work was an excuse, uh, because I have a lot of bad trading habits, and I'm trying to figure out how to put them in a different place in my brain so that I can move forward. Something that I'm having difficulty doing, due to me, uh, for a long period of my life, not taking any responsibility for anything due to my drinking. Um, I'm at a point where I have to make a lot of changes, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going to end up doing small baby steps. I may have to go through creativity tool 2 several times to get it done, but that's okay. Um, so I'm going to go through the course of my own pace, um, because that's the only thing that I feel comfortable in doing at this point. And I was talking to a friend of mine earlier this week. Uh, Daytime trading is going to be put on hold for the next few weeks, maybe few months, until I get a better understanding on the system that I'm learning, because MACDs, regression lines, um, moving averages, uh, and all this is new to me. And looking at a chart with all these lines and the PSAR and so on, uh, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just lines, and I don't understand why they're there, why I should look at them. And so I have to go back to the drawing board to do it the right way before I do daytime trading, from this point forward. And this friend suggested that I go back to all the trades that I took, since I started day trading in 2018, and analyze the hundreds of trades that I have, so I can see what I did right, what I did wrong, what I should do to rectify, and so on. So that's going to be my work in progress moving forward, and I'm looking forward to the challenge, and I hope.
All right, so here's my work in progress. Last week I described a process that I use to overcome inertia. I was angry at the Army because it wasn't responding to my good ideas for transformation fast enough, and so I was mad. I began to hate. I took that ball of energy and I blew it all out of proportion by going all in and make it outrageously hateful, evil, black ball of spinning, sparkling nuclear waste energy hate. Yuck. That's how much I hate the Army when it doesn't do what I tell it to. You can't even feel how hard and hot that hate is. Oh, you probably get a sense. The rage of 1,000 suns. When I'm satisfied, enjoying just how hot, painful, and ugly, evil, hateful that is, I put that all in a container, launch it into deep space, well away from the team. I look around inside myself, and now there is this great big gaping hole where all that rage came from. And you know what it exactly looks like? It looks like my next garden. Oh, so I fill that with good topsoil and cool, loving kindness of water and rest and relaxation. And then I plant all the seeds of the good things that I'm going to do. And I tend that garden. And then I watch those little plants getting ready to grow. And what I've learned about gardening is not much, but I do know this. You can't make those things grow faster by stretching them. So that's what I want to do, and I will monkey around with it if you let me. So when that is set, I'm done. I can just step back and just not touch those plants for a while. Watch them grow. I'm going to go watch the corn grow in Kansas. Let me know how that goes. So my job's not done, though. I have put all that stuff into deep space. The universe says, you need to do something about that. So here's what I do. I then go to deep space where it's safe to work on hate, and I turn all that energy of hate into energy. I just depersonalize. It's just energy. And energy is what you need to do work, which is to move things through space and time to create a difference that is measurable in the world. And I'm doing all that work in deep space where if it blows up, it's just me and it's not anybody else. No fallout. When I'm done with that, I can go back to the garden and see how they're doing. I got another... Oh, it turns out that every little speck of irritation I ever have, if unattended to, has the potential to grow into another ball of hate just like that. So the sooner I get on with that, the easier the work is to do. Deal with it right now. Well, what, you were going to wait and it was just going to get better? Yeah, well, sometimes things improve with benign neglect in the natural way. But at some point, the irritation, it ain't going anywhere, and there's something special about that irritation, and I can taste it. That's what the hate for the Army was becoming. I placed that ball of hate into a cartoon character that I love, and I want good things for him. But he's funny. It's Ludwig von Mandrake, who's the crazy scientist from Donald Duck series in Disney. And he's in the role of Nero fiddling. And I know that Rome is going to burn if he doesn't put out the fire, but he's fiddling and getting all irritated about all this heat, smoke, and noises interfering with the fiddling that he's doing. So he's just raging. And I can see clearly that all you need to do is stop fiddling around, put out the fire, and then go do the next thing. Why doesn't he do that? Because he's inside of it. But because I love that guy, I just want the best. So I can just tell him, stop fiddling, put out the fire, next. And in exchange for that gift, he holds up the mirror to me and shows me that that was just a projection. My hatred of the Army was a projection because I was slow and avoiding completing the book project that other people are relying on me to do, that put up money so that we could get a professional for editing and marketing. And I'm the long pole in the tent. I am the choke point on that. And I knew that, and I felt bad about it, and it was becoming self-disgust. And the way I solve self-disgust is I put that on other people and project onto them. So as long as I could hate the Army for not moving on the project, then I didn't have to worry about myself. I could project all of that energy, put it on the Army. So that's not fair to anybody, and it's stupid. So don't do that. So that little process allows me to bundle all that hate immediately. I blow it all out of proportion, send it to deep space for work, create a garden to do the things I need to do with all that hateful energy. Then think about how to resolve the hate that I put into the world non-selfishly by figuring out what to do, and that little cartoon character helps me. So I think about that, Damien, when I think about you've identified all those bad habits of trading, and now you're going to go back through hundreds of things and study them in detail. Don't do that. You already know what they are. Make each one of those a little precious seed of insight and go plant that in the garden just like you did this week. Plant it there and let it grow and leave it alone. Go see what grows there later, but it's growing and you don't have to worry about it. The garden is going to grow that. What you got is a fresh sheet of paper on the next plot of land over there. And what I want you to consider doing is talk to my brother about the 3-day, 9-day long-term sniper. It has 3 indicators on a sheet. It uses a 9-day bar and a PSAR. Buy it when it flips, with the size of the risk being the 9-day PSAR box. Move your risk out at the right time. Study 100 symbols once a week and see which ones are approaching those seasonal changes. That's all. When you got that going this week or next week, then shift to the 3-day. If you're feeling froggy and you want to go just a little bit faster, the 3-day is the fast version of that. The 9-day version of that is what we are preparing for professional money managers who are moving billions of dollars around and need to do that without losing their mind and trying to chase every tick. The 9-day bar with a simple PSAR flip, the way we construct it, is the secret sauce. But to use the secret sauce, you have to do due diligence. And due diligence is spelled with the letters D-O. You have to do something. But the beauty is you already today cleared the deck and planted all those seeds in the garden, and they're already growing with all those bad ideas. And you don't even have to think about them anymore, because some subconscious part of your brain is already processing that. And when the time comes, if needed, we can go and investigate, but we don't even have to do that because you're already replacing those habits with the new habits yet to be formed of the 3-day, 9-day PSAR flip. And you're going to do that in an accountability group with other people that want to work on the 3-day, 9-day under my brother's gentle supervision as a hospice nurse who gives tough love, which is tough but is also love, and which is how you heal. So that's what I was reminded of this morning. Do that. When you plant all those evil seeds in that other garden, it frees your hands to do the new work, which needs to be done now. The healing happens as a natural process of life. Trust that. If you just let it go. That's somebody else's job. Your sous chef is taking care of that. That's why you have that guy. And if you trust that guy, he's going to take care of all that. So you figure out who your sous chef is. Who is your chief of staff and that hires the right guy to sweep up after the elephants in the parade? Let those guys do their job. You don't have to. You got other work to do. Do that work. Get out of your own way. What kind of a good teammate are you if you saw somebody else suffering out there shoveling manure and you just let them do that when we got machines that'll shovel manure? Thanks for that idea, Ken. What kind of a teammate are you? Chinlong, you reminded me that when I empty my bowl so I can do some work, it's okay to have an empty bowl and not think about trading over the weekend. I mean, I'm always thinking about trading because I see it in everything that I do. But you can run away from that empty bowl for a while because it is there just being an empty bowl. That's what it does. It doesn't care how long you leave that empty bowl in its place. Nothing has to be done. All you have to do is surrender and accept things exactly as they are, because that's what else were you going to do? Were you going to change the universe to have it in your design? Well, maybe someday. But accepting things as they are means you got to be aware of them, and then you got to acknowledge them, and then you can accept them, so you can just surrender and let the universe take care of its job, and then you empty your bowl. That's your job, and then nothing else has to happen until it's time to do the next thing. And when it's time to do the next thing, and you know it, put a period and say, that's the next thing. So while you're emptying your bowl and you're looking into the empty bowl, you're asking the question, whatever the next question is. You let the question appear in the bowl. And when you know the answer to it, you put a period on it and say, now go do that thing. If you don't know what that is, it's to do that, what I just said. Wait for the question to appear in the bowl until you're certain with a period, and then go prepare to do work. Are you ready to work? Well, prepare. When you're done preparing, you know when you are ready to work, period. Then, let's go. What do we get? You got all that hateful energy in the universe ready to go, and you're going to turn it into positive energy so we can do work. God, you don't even have to find the hate in yourself, because there's so much of it in the world that's out there just that you can tap into. You can just use all the energy of hate in the world to fuel your machine of doing good. You don't even have to generate the hate. Now, if you got hate inside you, go ahead and contribute it to the team. Thank you for that. Put it in deep space so that if it explodes, there's no fallout on us. Put the hate to work in the world on doing the next thing. We do it perfectly? Nope. That's what wabi-sabi and kintsugi means. It just means you're doing your best, and we heal it with that golden welding material that creates beauty. So there, hate. What do you think about that? You tried to break me. All you did was put me into little pieces that I put back together that's better than it was before. You're helping me out, hate. Every time you try to crush me to the ground, all it does is I turn into these little pieces that reassemble like a transformer with golden love and cooling kindness, and it's beautiful. The Niken practice is a way to do that. If you did that all the time every week and told one little 3-minute story, That's the short form of the true story circle and the aha moment. Whatever your aha moment was the thing you're supposed to come in and talk about. If we did that in a 3-minute circle with 20 people in here, that would be the short form. What we just did today was the long form of that, in which the story took its time to travel around the path. In that other one where we're going to do the work in progress with larger group, it's going to be 3-minute short story. Aesop's Fables, The Canterbury Tales, a Disney cartoon, whatever it's going to be. There are 3 skills that are needed to thrive in the world, which is already an AI world. AI is not a future thing, it's already here. And here's how I know, because I got a call from the future, and the future asked me, how in the world did you think it was okay not to tell your true stories to the world for the benefit of the universe? How did you come to the conclusion that you have the right not to tell the truth about your life to the universe, which already sees everything anyway? Who do you think you're hiding from? Or who are you kidding? What do you think you're leaving unsaid by not telling your truth? So let's get on with that and tell all of those stories, because the eternal record needs to be complete. We need to complete the record with our part of the story by telling the truth about it as best you can under the conditions of your choosing in a safe, trusted, truthful space. So if that's the future we're in which time is continuous and simultaneous in all directions, well, the most important skills for that are 3. The bronze medal goes to the English language, because it is the most important programming language. It's a dynamically growing language, and AI will take care of turning your English language into the particular code that's needed for that particular project. You don't even have to be a coder. You just have to use the English language and put everything you mean and feel and sense into the best words that you can in the form of a story. Because a story is a computer program that has little modules known as characters, which are methods and intentions. And I know that's true because a well-told story is a piece of programming that goes from one brain to another brain and changes behaviors. That's what communication and stories are. So the third most important skill, the bronze medal, goes to the English language in order to understand programming and to be clear about what you want, mean, need, and feel. But the silver medal goes to math in its ability to describe a process or an algorithm to solve a problem to your satisfaction using visualization, logic, rules, and reasoning. So the ability to express your view of how to solve a problem correctly is expressed in math, which is the universal language of algorithmic problem solving. But the gold medal goes to human empathy and the willingness to suspend judgment about the other person, because you don't know what their truth is and you don't know what load they're carrying, so you need to listen more and judge less. And a true story circle is a place to do that. And with empathy and loving kindness, you open yourself up to hear and feel those things and let those true stories simply resonate into you. The universe has so many solutions to everybody's problem that it's not even your job to tell other people what to do. It's your job to feel the resonance and to describe what you think you might do or what you did in a similar circumstances, because you're reminded from listening to their true story of something that connects at the boundary, which is a boundary of loving kindness and good intentions, and that is what creates the weld that makes us stronger than the individual pieces. That is what the quilt of our stories that grow look like. That's what the kintsugi bowl that used to be broken and is now being completed by each of our individual stories with this golden light of perpetual union, which is the spirit that binds us all, which is what's calling from the future, saying, think about what true storytelling means inside that context, and then decide if you want to enter a true storytelling circle or not. Your call. But in the meantime, while you're thinking about that, on your own path, surrender, empty, and nothing until it's time to do something. And one of the things that it might be time to do, or whenever it's time to do that, is go to your local true storytelling circle with your fellow trusted travelers who have exchanged the human trust token between them and have created safe spaces in which trust may flourish and truth may be told so that the people may thrive. All we need is the opportunity to transform the universe, and it starts with that foundation. Story seeds are condensed power words that lead to an entire story and a program that changes the world. That's when you render it down into a story seed, what you're doing. Those characters in your stories are mini programs as part of a larger program. Stories are software of the mind. We better start studying the ethics of hypnosis as well as the methods of hypnosis, which is a powerful way that rhetoric has been used unscrupulously in the past to manipulate the masses through the power of unscrupulous stories. And we need to be aware of the world in which that happens. It's filled with power tools, also fueled by hate. So there's somebody on the other side of the trade that we got to contend with. So let's work on completing the record, our portion of the record, which is our true story testimony of things. That's my work in progress this week. Uh-huh. So I'm going to go around the horn and ask you to report in on the word that has now, that power word that has bubbled up to the surface. That is the internally generated software program seed that you're going to be working on all week to come up with the story that grows from whatever seed it is that you're going to announce. So with that in mind, I'd like you to listen to the tones and think hard about those seeds. In the order I see you on the screen, Jeff?
Code.
Junlong?
Surrender.
Damien?
Successful.
Ernie?
Balance.
Kyun?
Plant.
if you wish, and only if you wish, our guests, if there's a word that would summarize everything that you are going to be thinking about this week from this experience of the last 90 minutes, and if you feel like sharing it, then go ahead, turn your camera on, and then I'll ask you what your word of reflection is. Hamad?
Mine would be the river.
Greg?
Reflection.
MP?
Systems.
I'm going to hit the tones, and I'm going to close up the circle, and I got to hustle my rear end over to the soccer field. In 17 minutes, those little guys are waiting for me to get started, and I got to set up the cones. So thanks very much for a wonderful session, and genuinely appreciate everybody's patience and kindness and going forth to do great things. And we will see you the next time we see you. So take good care.
I have a quick question for you,
Oh, yeah.
Ken. It's
Yeah,
going to take 1 second.
Oh, sure.
The session that you have on Sunday morning prior to this one, is that for the foundation course?
Yeah, Foundations course. I'm happy to have you come in if you like.
Okay, at what time does it start?
9 o'clock.
Okay, I'll be there next week. Thanks.
Cheers.
That's
Yep.
all.
Cheers.
See you then.
Yep. I gotta hurry. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Yes.